Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I want to share with you the fantastical tale of how I got my hand on a $2,500 PC to play Half-Life. Now, don't worry, it's not actually as ridiculous as it sounds. Although I have been lucky enough to get my hands on a wonderful PC, I didn't actually spend $2,500 or the better part of £2,000 on it. Rather, I've been very fortunate in finding an excellent second-hand build. And I do want to play Half-Life. But I also found that this machine can run a version of Half-Life that I've been wanting to play for 14 years now, since 2005. I am of course talking about Half-Life 2, The Lost Coast, a version of Half-Life that I first tried to play on my laptop back in uni in, 2005 I guess. Yeah, 2004, 2005 was in my first year at uni. And that laptop could not handle it. This was a cutting-edge tech demo at the time, whereas now the machine I've got will just eat it up. Now, I should start at the beginning, as we start this at the beginning. I recently decided to upgrade my PC, and this involved changing, or trying to change, the graphics card, maybe the power supply and the RAM of a Lenovo, a store-bought Lenovo that I got about 5 years ago, that I bought specifically for editing purposes. I make films and do education work as an archaeologist in my job, and that tower PC I thought would be future-proofing me, would allow me to put in new hardware as and when it was required. And while it was starting to be required, the machine was crashing quite a lot. Oh, hello.
Hey.
Hey.
You there?
Me there?
Wait a minute now, aren't you? You are. You're that scientist chap,
Yep.
Friedman.
That's me.
Fishman. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
You must be here to take on the Combine. Not sure what one man can do, but no other reason to visit St. Olga at a time like this.
No.
I'll take you to where they made their base, or as far as I can, at any rate.
Thank you. Now, I took my machine, I unplugged everything from the Lenovo, and I took it into the local tech guy who I trust on the high street here in Wallsend. He runs a shop called IT Fox. It's excellent. I've been there with various phone complaints and computer complaints over the years, and he's always saw me right.
Let me just unlock this gate for you.
Thank you.
Got the key right here. There we go.
I love the gravity gun, I really
Get
do.
along now, laddie. Destroy that gun and no dawdling.
Okie dokie. He's always seen me right, and he said, if you just bring in your computer on a day when you're not using it for work.
Hurry, lad. Get up the path.
Yeah, I'm going. I will take a look at it and I'll let you know what your options are, because I know enough to know what I don't know, in so much as I knew that if I wanted a new graphics card, I probably need new power supply, and at the time I was running one of the lowest level NVIDIA graphics cards. So when I bought it new, it was my first ever graphics card, in fact, and that was very exciting. But it really doesn't particularly do well with more modern games in particular. And after about 20 minutes, I got the phone call back from him, and he said, well, I've taken a look, and unfortunately this Lenovo build has in it some bespoke pieces, i.e. there are sort of 12-pin connections for, I think for the power supply for one, that are in a weird configuration, like a bespoke Lenovo plug, basically, that you can't get anywhere else. And if you try and order it from Lenovo, it's essentially the cost of buying a new PC. Now, this is basically because they want you to buy another. Ooh, don't want to fire that. Just want you to buy another PC as you had originally from. In my case, it was PC World that I bought it from. They don't not necessarily expecting you to be the sort of person who upgrades technology, and with that sort of cost, or that sort of budget PC. They're expecting you. They're expecting you. Oh, I've been eaten alive. They're expecting you to simply buy a new one, and therefore this for them wasn't really going to be an issue in terms of the longevity of the machine. But for me, it really was, and I was very disappointed. I really thought I'd done the right thing in getting a Tower PC and upgrading from a laptop as I originally had for one. So I started looking around, and it was actually the next day, in fact, as is so often the case when you start looking. When I start looking for things, I'm often quite good at finding things. That I came across on the Cash Converters website my current PC for a steal of a price. Now, let me just deal with these guys. Go away! There we go. Okay. My current PC is a Dell XPS 8920, and it has some very specific parts to it. I've actually tried to build this PC on the Dell website just before I started recording this, and with the parts that are included, including 32 gigabytes of RAM, a Generation 9 i7 processor, 256 gigabyte SSD, solid state hard drive, 2 terabyte standard hard drive, and crucially, the graphics card is GeForce RTX 2080. The total cost comes to $399.99. So basically $2,500 before discount. And this machine, Cash Converters, was going for £900. Now, given that I was so disappointed with the Lenovo, I figured that it was worthwhile using a little bit of my savings that I do save up, obviously for business purposes, to fork out for a machine that I could upgrade and that would last me for a bit longer than the Lenovo had, hopefully. So, £900 it was. And actually, this machine was the only machine on the Cash Converters website in this sort of this bracket, this sort of quality bracket. And it was in Redcar, which isn't that far south from it. It's about an hour's drive away. So we made our way down to Redcar. And actually, when we arrived in town, what we found was that there was a pirate festival going on, of all things. There were people dressed up as Jack Sparrow and as regular soldiers, British redcoats, this kind of thing. And it was quite hard finding parking. But I eventually managed to get into the store, having called ahead, incidentally, and asked if they could hold it as a lay-by for me while I drove down to pick up the machine. And when I actually got into the store, having struggled to find parking, the guy was very relieved to see me. He was extremely nervous because at that point, let's see, I've got a printout of the website here. At that point, it had been viewed 454 times nationally. And they were getting all sorts of queries, and they were being asked if they could knock down a little bit of money, this kind of thing. But I'd already asked, can I knock off 50 quid, and I'll be in an hour to get it. And so when he saw me, or when I confirmed who I was, he was like, oh man, thank God. Because his manager was breathing down his neck. And also, I also found out that his colleague had his eye on this machine. Because he wanted to buy it for himself, probably with a staff discount, and he was gutted when I said that. He said that machine, it's a beast. I was like, yeah, well, it is quite good, isn't it? Yeah, it's pretty good. What are you going to use it for? He asked, and I said, well, editing videos and recording footage, this kind of thing. And he's like, okay, do you play any games? I'm like, yeah, I play games. And the only game I could think of when I said I play games was Half-Life, the original Half-Life. I went, what, Half-Life and Stronghold? And to be fair, Stronghold 2, the 3D version of Stronghold, is the version that I've also wanted to play for ages on a machine that could handle it. I've had various attempts to play Stronghold 2, but it never quite worked out, especially on that laptop machine. So I wasn't lying when I said that I would play Stronghold 2 on here, and it runs beautifully as well, in fact. But he was You could tell he was disappointed, shall we say, that I would be using this machine to play those games. Now, of course, I'm not just playing those games. I've finally got a chance to play Far Cry Primal, a game that I got a review code for a little while ago, or a couple of years ago now, and that again runs smoothly, and I can capture footage off the screen as well. So I'm aware that I'm a very lucky boy, or rather, I was very fortunate to find what I was looking for so quickly, and also for such a good price. And so I'm not just using it to run basic, outdated software. Don't worry. But yeah, he was properly gutted. Now, my lovely wife was waiting in the car around the corner, and so following this conversation, I sort of carried the machine, which incidentally is much heavier than the Lenovo, and I suppose it would be. It's got more in it, so in terms of cooling and there we go. Cooling and the graphics card and so on and so forth. It's going to be heavier. She was waiting around the corner, watching these pirates go by, slightly confused by what she was seeing. And when I explained what was going on, she went, "Oh, well, that makes sense." But also, she was really happy for me as well, because she's an amazing person. She was dead chuffed that I was able to find something that will do what I need it to, and that I can crucially upgrade in the future. I made sure that it is possible to get other parts for this machine, which is fantastic. So that's the story, really, I suppose, of my $2,500 PC and playing Half-Life, or rather Half-Life 2: The Lost Coast. But nonetheless, I have always wanted to play this extension of Half-Life, and previously there's a video stress test that you can do from the menu. Previously, when I tried it, for example, on my laptop back in the day, it was just stuttering. It came back at like 10 frames per second or something stupid like that. On this version, even though I'm capturing at 30 frames per second, the count that came back on the stress test was 256 frames a second. So, again, I'm a very lucky boy, and I've suddenly been promoted into the PC gaming master race, and I'm happy about it, even though I've never wanted to be a member of the PC master race per se. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this machine for work, but also I'm going to be enjoying some of those games that I've never, I've always wanted to play but never quite been able to play properly. So one game that I got many years ago is actually a game called, is it Zomboid or Project Zomboid? Which, to be fair, again, wasn't a very demanding game, technically speaking. Need more ammo. There we go. Sort of isolinear zombie title, but again was a game that no PC that I've had until now could handle. I'm also delighted that I'm able to try out games like was it A Plague Tale, a recent medieval computer game that for work purposes, because I'm an archaeologist, I will be playing at some point or another. So suddenly I'm able to play modern games on a PC. I'm also able to edit quicker, capture footage reliably, and also edit large-scale images. Recently I was hired to do some poster work for a hospital in North Wales. It's a long story, sort of quasi family connection going on there. But the size of this particular image. Where are you? There you are. But the size of this particular image meant that on my previous PC it would take ages. I mean, literally a minute at a time to alter the image. So it would do that thing where it's sort of line by line updating when you say you move something around on the image, this kind of thing. So it's going to make work work much easier, this machine. What's also great is that I haven't had to update my desktop setup. I've still got the same screen. Now my SteelSeries keyboard and mouse are more befitting, or are attached to a more fitting machine. And also actually the wonderful SyncMaster Samsung 4:3 ratio monitor to the right here actually works as well. I just had to get a VGA to DisplayPort converter for the back of the PC to make that work. But I wanted the square format monitor here because it just works very nicely for these purposes. So I'm chuffed, to be honest, absolutely chuffed. And it was yesterday that I played this this tech demo for the first time, and I wasn't disappointed. It is a pretty environment. 15 years old, 14 years old or thereabouts, but still a very pretty game that I could finally run at something like decent specs. Oh, crash. Now, it did take me a while yesterday to figure out what on earth you do next here. Oh, well that... I didn't mean to do that. Oh, okay, never mind. But apparently, or as far as I could tell at least, can I... As far as I could tell, you're meant to get down there to get to the lift just here, but the helicopter hasn't blown the floor away here. There we go. Go away. Brilliant. And along here, and crouch. Now, it was Half-Life, the original Half-Life, that taught me the WASD control scheme back in day. So I'm very comfortable playing Half-Life on a keyboard. But actually, as well, that's the other thing that I'm really interested in is experimenting with an Xbox 360 controller, playing, for example, Far Cry Primal through the PC and seeing how that feels. Because, you know, you often hear people say, well, consoles these days are just PCs.
Lad. Come on with me to St. Olga. We'll celebrate this victory with a feast.
Okay.
I hope you like leeches.
I love leeches.
Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere, I'm coming.
Fuzzy around the edges.
Am I?
Well, I guess you've got other places to be. Nice knowing you.
You too. Yeah, so people say that consoles these days are just basically PCs by another name. So it's going to be interesting seeing how that console control experience translates to a PC playing in my office, I guess. Again, for me, all of this is new and novel and exciting. But so far, I have been playing Half-Life 2, a bit of original Half-Life, and Stronghold 2. I've just been catching up on games that I haven't been able to play properly for the past decade or so. Anyway, guys, hopefully this has been interesting, a bit of fun going along the Lost Coast, and a little bit of a tease as well at the beginning there. I am so happy with my new PC, and crucially, I'm happy that this thing is built now for the future. I can actually upgrade it when I want to, as opposed to finding that it's unupgradable. That was very disappointing. Bad Lenovo. Bad Lenovo. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.